Raindrops on today's episode of Reality with the King. Listen, y'all know Love and Hip Hop Atlanta is my favorite shows. Yes, I used to work on it, but baby, this season is on fire. And my special guest today is part of the reason as well because she and her husband not only like to break the internet, they like to break storylines, sometimes break dishes, but I'm not here to judge. Give it up for the beautiful woman who is married to my crazy friend, Young Jock, Kendra.
Hi, Carlos.
Hi, gorgeous.
Hi, boo.
How are you?
Well, it's so good to see you.
You are so pretty.
Thank you.
You are on Reality with the King, baby.
Listen, I was like, when you reached out, I was like, you know what? You know what? I'm gonna go talk to Carlos. he was like, oh, you, and then, So,
I
yes.
appreciate that. No, listen, I appreciate you for saying yes. I know that, listen, although you're on reality television, you still are kind of like a mystery. And unlike your husband,
You think I'm a mystery?
You don't crash out as much as your husband does, child, on the radio, on the internet, on the 5G network,
I don't.
But we'll get into that. But no, but I do appreciate you saying yes because, look, I interviewed your husband last year. Listen, I think he's a great person inside and out. I think he's somebody who is super funny, super underrated. And there's a lot of stories that he and I talked about, and we cleared the air on a lot of stuff. But obviously, you are his wife. And I wanted my audience to get to know you first. Like, I'm really intrigued about you and your background. So I want to start there first, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Explain to us, like, where you grew up from and all of those things that led you to becoming an attorney and a real estate agent and developer, or is it both?
A real estate agent, real estate closing attorney, and a developer, soon to be developer. I'm trying to get all the coins.
Well, send me some, child. But no, there's enough money for everybody.
Period.
But talk to me about that. Like, where are you from?
I'm from a really small town. It's Clinton, South Carolina. It is like between Greenville and Columbia. So I'm a country girl. Both my parents are from there. And I just kind of grew up just like that, like easy living in the church, having family gatherings every week, at my grandma's house and stuff like that. But I also had a dream, a big city dream, or even if it wasn't a big city dream, like I knew I wanted to change the world in some kind of way. And so, fast forward to going to college and, learning myself, meeting friends and exchanging ideas. I went to Kentucky State University. It's the only HBCU in the state of Kentucky. And of course, the essence of an HBCU and the healing properties that are there and just the discovery value in being a young black girl going to a HBCU where I had it laid out for me like, look, you're great, you're gonna be great, so how can I help you, little sister, to become what you wanna become? And so I was able to meet friends and say, okay, I wanna be a lawyer. And then once I, kept on keeping on. I became a Delta. I pledged Delta Sigma Theta at Kentucky State University. The Alpha Pi chapter is where I was initiated. And then from there, I went on to law school at University of Louisville. And, it was right up the street from Kentucky State University. And it's not an HBCU, but it was a law school nonetheless. And being from South Carolina, a real small town and a southern town, I always wanted to get back home, because Kentucky is a long way from South Carolina. And, I was like, I want to go back south. I don't want to live here. I didn't even take the bar in Kentucky. I took the Georgia bar, even though my education was in Kentucky. So, I had a plan to kind of get here because it was close to home and it was like, to me, the next best thing. So that's how I ended up in Atlanta. I passed the bar. I got a job at the public defender's office. And that's where my legal career started. I started doing criminal defense. And I fell in love with it because it was like I was helping my people. You know, I didn't get paid a lot of money. And actually, when I started out, I was doing it for free. You know, I was interning and then, you know, going to work in the afternoons and stuff like that. But I just, you know, kept working at it. I kept networking and, you know, having my mentors, you know, keep me busy. Even though I wasn't getting paid, I was still getting the experience. And so, you know, that's pretty much, you know, how I got to Atlanta, you know. I probably was in Atlanta about a year and a few months before I, you know, met Jaceel. I was, you know, when I came down here, I was like, oh, I'm about to be a lawyer. I'm about to be balling. I was just like, you know, the dream that somebody has when they're en route to Atlanta. You know, but that's not what happened. I was living on MLK in the hood. My rent was like $600. They broke.
Were you in a shoebox?
No, I was in the Peaks on MLK.
Did you have a bathroom?
I had a bathroom. You could see everything from one spot in the house. You could see my room. You could see the bathroom. It was not a studio, though.
What was the square footage?
Probably about 8.
800? Okay.
About 770.
You got a futon?
I had my couch set from college. But it was rough. I didn't know.
No, we all have to listen. I was in New York City. My rent was $750 in Brooklyn. I had rats. Not mice. I had rats.
Oh God, they were big.
They were big, and I had a cat who would take care of it. But my point is, you know, shout out. But no, so I get all about that. The humble beginnings, but I had a futon cause
it had many purposes though, right?
It was like 500 square feet, child. So, you know, when I walk into the kitchen, the bathroom's right there, and when I walk out the bathroom, my couch is there. So that was you. So I relate to that.
Yeah, it was like a struggle. They broke into my apartment the day after I took the bar and stole my laptop. So had they been a day earlier, I probably would not have become a lawyer, you know, at the same speed that I did. And so it was rough. But all of this happened really quickly because when I then moved to Cascade, I was at the Shell right there on Cascade. That's right across from that BP one day. And I had moved and I was on my way to a job interview in the DA's office in Savannah, because I had applied to so many jobs here. All of my prospects looked like they were drying up. So I was like, shoot, I'm gonna go prosecute or do whatever I gotta do. Even if I gotta live there and work throughout the week and come back here on the weekends, you know, I was like, I'm just gonna try it. So I went down there, interviewed, and then actually on my way back, I stopped at the gas station, the Shell gas station. Jaceel was there. So.
And that's Young Jock for the folks who don't know his government.
Young Jock. That's Young Jock.
No, that's your husband.
Yeah.
You can say Jaceel.
Jaceel. So.
Okay. So you're at the Shell gas station, pumping your own gas.
Pumping my own gas.
Okay.
And like, you know, I had come back, so I had driven 4 hours from Savannah, so I was tired. And
what time of day was it?
Daylight.
Oh, okay, it was in the day.
It was daylight.
Good.
It was daylight because I had stayed overnight and then drove back, so it was like daytime. So I had on my U of L sweatpants and I had on a little shirt. I wasn't looking like much of nothing, you know. I was cute. I was young, you know.
Yeah, the face is beat.
So you feel me? But back then I wasn't even into makeup back then. That's the crazy part.
Okay.
So I was at the gas station and I had a Grand Prix, a Burgundy Grand Prix. Everybody had a Grand Prix, but I had a Burgundy Grand Prix. So I was pumping my gas and he was like, his truck was there, and so he pointed at my car, and so I panicked because I'm like, I just put 3 new tires on this car. I know I don't got a flat tire, and at the time, I didn't even see that it was Young Jock. I was like, this man is trying to distract me. I hope he ain't trying to rob me. I hope ain't, you know, nothing going on and stuff. So when he approached me, I was like, wow, this is Young Jock. I was like, this is Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? But
what did he say to you?
He said, ma'am, I said, what's going on? He was like, no. He was like, your tire. I was like, well, what's wrong with my tire? And he was just like, oh, nothing. He was like, you look like, he was just trying to like distract me with his words. And I was like, but I was in a panic because I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I'm not trying to have to replace another tire. So, and then he was like, well, I'm glad everything is fine with it. And he was like, he was like, I would ask you, for your number. He was like, I would like to do that. He was like, but I'm not gonna do that. He was like, how about we exchange social media handles and, just like kind of go from there. And so we did.
I bet you did.
And no. I got it wrong. I'm sorry. That's not what happened. That's what happened. He said and did all that, and we went our separate ways.
Y'all exchanged information?
Not at the Shell, but hear me out.
Okay.
That was one day. So we did not exchange information at the Shell, but we just had that interaction, and it was like, maybe 5 minutes. So 3 days later, I needed to go to the Shell. Not the Shell, the SunTrust that was close by, because I needed a document notarized. And so I walk in there. I had on a lime green sweatshirt that had the cutout in the thing. It was like the fashion at the time, whatever. So I walk in the bank. Guess who's sitting in the bank talking to the banker? Jocille. Sitting in the bank. I walked to that bank from my apartment complex. Like, I was trying to save gas and everything. So I walked in there. I got I was like, oh, yeah, I need this notarized. He turned around and was like, and I turned around and saw him, and he was like, oh, really? Oh, wow. Like, this is, so.
Fate,
maybe.
Yeah.
So at that point, we kind of exchanged, like, the social media handles. And then we communicated and liked pictures and went back and forth and stuff. And then we eventually exchanged numbers, and then we are here, pretty much.
Well, a lot of things happened before we're here today, girl, that I want to get into. I love your speedy version, but I want to, reverse. Let me reverse the car, child, on the highway, and get into some things. Okay. So, I love the story. Because, no, obviously that means it was fate. The fact that, y'all ran into each other at the gas station in the hood. And
because it was the hood.
It was the hood. He in a truck, you in a Burgundy Grand Prix, child. And y'all exchanged information. Then for you to walk across the street to the SunTrust, to see him again, and y'all exchanged information. So the thing is, you knew he was Young Jock, obviously.
Yeah.
What was it about Young Jock that made you say, okay, let me start dating him? Like, were you aware of him on Love and Hip Hop at the time, or did you just know Young Jock the musician?
Well, at the time I knew of him slightly from Love and Hip Hop, but I didn't watch it prior to me getting on there. But I knew he was on there, and I knew a little bit about his story, or what people were saying his story was based off of that. But prior to that, I just only knew him as the musician because I was a fan. Like, when he came out, I was a senior in high school, so like, at that point, that was all I knew, really. You know what I mean? But again, I did have the buzz going on, like, say, from my friends who I had told that I had met him. They were like, oh, okay, well, I watch Love and Hip Hop, and, this is that and the third. And so...
What were they saying exactly?
Well, that he has several children, because I think, when he got introduced on the franchise, that was something that, that was they're part of his story. So that was made known to the world, and he was dating Carly Red on the show and stuff like that. And like, this was a lot. Like, this was a lot of stuff. So to go back to the call of your question, the thing that made me, like, buy in or just, kind of tap into what he had going on was that even though, I had met this rapper who I know of to be a rapper, and now I know of to be on reality television with what I'm seeing is supposed to be his real life with all of this, it's like, I didn't judge him. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what it is, you know, because when you first meet somebody, if you really are a person who's genuine and, you know, let things go how they go, you just are going with the flow of things. So it's like, I didn't meet him and be like, I'm marrying him. Like, that's not what I said at the Shell that day. I was intrigued, I was excited, you know, and as I got to know him and got to see past Young Jock the rapper or Young Jock the person who's on reality TV, like, I was able to peel back layers, and it didn't take long to peel back the layers and get to see more of just what the public and the world gets to see and all that I had just seen up until the point that I had met him. So his genuine person and his genuine spirit and the true essence of who he is, like, that is what made me say, you know what, it don't matter what he got going on. Like, if you love him, you know, when we got to that point of love and commitment, it was like, then if you're going to be sold, if you're gonna be with him, if you're gonna love him, you gotta be sold out. And, you know, I was able to, he made it easy to, you know, buy into that agenda, you know.
When you and him were first started dating, did you think you were the only woman that he was seeing?
When we first started dating, see, this is the thing. Well, yeah, you know, I think, now when I first met him, I don't think so. Like, I feel like his kids, some of his children were young to where, you know, I do feel like he was still involved with either one or two of their mothers. But when I first met him, we did not go straight into physical or straight into even actually dating, you know what I mean? Like, we took it slow, you know. So by the time Jocel and I became more than friends, he was no longer married. He was already divorced on paper. And
was Jock married when y'all were dating in the beginning?
No.
He wasn't. He wasn't legally married.
No. At the time that Jocel and I became more than friends, Jocel's divorce became final within 2 weeks of meeting me.
2 weeks of meeting you.
Yeah.
Got
so I never, by the grace of God, ever had to, you know, deal with a married man.
Got it.
You know.
Yeah. And when you learned on the show that he was having dealings with Carly Red while you two were dating, how did that make you feel?
Well, like I said, you know, I don't know. Like, see, and that was the other thing that I was explaining to him so long ago. I'm like, before I got involved into the reality TV world, I'm like, I don't know the timelines of this stuff. I mean, you know, if I see it, I don't know when it was shot or whatever, you know. But the thing that I think the world gets confused and, like, people get confused is, like I said, we took it slow. Like, I found out I was Jocel's girlfriend. We was at Topgolf, and, you know, a year and some later, and Teddy Riley was there, and he introduced me to Teddy Riley as his girlfriend. Like, that's how I found out that Jocel was my boyfriend and I was his girlfriend.
And how many months were y'all dating when he made that declaration?
Over a year. Like, it was like...
You were dating him for a year and y'all weren't exclusive?
I mean, it was no conversation had with me that said, hey, look, I mean, we were acting exclusive, but it was no, hey, look,
official.
we're going to, no, you date nobody else, I date nobody else. Like, it wasn't that. Like, now, were we acting that way? 1,000%, but it just still was not a formal sit down.
Were you seeing other men during that year?
I was. Not other men. It was just, you know, a person in particular that just the times kind of overlapped. And, you know, but...
You had a boyfriend when y'all first met?
It wasn't a boyfriend.
You had a male a companion?
Correct.
That you were romantically involved with?
I mean, you know, before, yes.
Yes. So this male companion that you were romantically involved with, when did you officially stop dealing with him? Was it after Jock made you his official girlfriend in front of Teddy Riley?
Hear me. So,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it was just, yes.
Okay.
And that's pretty much what it was. It was a unpleasant situation. That was it was just like a weird situation, a very bad situation. Jaceel actually, confronted me about it, and
He found out about this guy? How he find out?
I don't know. He went through my phone. He had to go through my phone, so.
And he saw some text messages and some photos?
Not no photos,
Just
but text messages. And
Like, I love you?
Yeah, just bad stuff. Just stuff you don't want to see somebody who you thinking is your girlfriend. And I mean, that was my boyfriend. The whole thing with that, is that I just, I didn't know when I met him, and this is the same thing I explained to him. You can ask him if I let him know. I'm like, look, I didn't know that when I met you, I was gonna love you this much. I didn't know it was gonna be this, And had I known that, I would have instantly just told, whoever to just, disband, go ahead, go on. But unfortunately, it don't happen like that. And people make mistakes. I was being selfish, just at the time period. But, and I was very hurt that I hurt him in the way that I did, because Jaceel was very hurt by that. But we got through it. But, that was just,
Was he faithful to you around that time? That he confronted you and going through your phone?
Yeah, that's what I believe, you know what I mean? And if he were to explain or even go back to that, maybe he would say that that's why he was so hurt and why he was so upset, and, he, took a chance on me and all this stuff. And I don't downplay the hurt in it, that was messed up, so.
You blame yourself, though?
No.
Because listen.
I just take accountability. I just was able to take accountability because I really know what was going on.
Yeah, because I think in your defense, you're not in an exclusive relationship because he didn't say you're my girl.
Correct.
And this is my opinion, as a single woman in Atlanta, where there's not a lot of available men, I'm assuming you were just making sure to explore options.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like, because at this point, it was like you have a lot going on, you have a lot of children, it was a lot going on, and I was like, I have to adjust to that. I have to wrap my horns around that, my hands around those horns right there. Like, so I was scared, I was afraid, I was like, I also don't want to get played with. I don't want to be lied to. I don't want to be none of that. You know what I'm saying? At the time, my father was still alive. So, as I was telling everybody, like, yeah, I met Young Jock and this and that. And then as they realized, like, oh, he's not going away. He's here. He's going to be here to stay. It was just a lot that I had to get adjusted to. So, and I always tell, like, when I'm sharing with my friends or if they got stuff going on, I'm like, look, just be honest. Honesty is the best policy. And so, we got past that. It took us a while. We split, when that happened or whatever.
Y'all broke up when he found out you were seeing the other, okay. He broke up with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
For how long y'all broken up for?
Probably about 5 months. Like, that probably happened in August. And on my birthday in January, he took me to the movies. Him and our oldest kid, they took me to the movies. And I forget what we saw, but but that was, that was our getting it back together. And, him basically saying, I'm not happy about, like him basically just saying, you human, and I've been given grace before, and you deserve grace too, so.
Well, let me ask you this. You are a very smart woman. Obviously, you're very educated. Anybody who passes the bar That's nothing to sneeze at.
Thank you, bro.
A lot of people failed it 20 times and finally got it right.
It's okay.
You know, but no, it's child. I couldn't do it. That's why I talk for a living. But no, so I gave you so much credit with that. The thing is this. Well, a lot of people do feel when it comes to you, right? You are a beautiful woman. You're an accomplished woman. And when you met Jock, you were a single woman. No kids, right? So here you are considered, for all intents and purposes, prime real estate. You a young, popping Black woman in the blackest city on the map, you know what I'm saying? The most popping city when it comes to Black wealth, Atlanta, Georgia. And here you are in your Grand Prix, minding your business, trying to pump gas. Was it a premium pump or the basic fuel? Using the basic fuel, child, 89.
Period.
And this man approaches you. And this man has several children. At the time, I believe it was
8.
8. When you met Jock, he had 8 kids. By 7, is this
4?
4. When you met Jock, you met a man who at that time 8 kids by 4 different women. A lot of people feel like, why in the world would a woman of your accomplishments date somebody who they would consider to have a lot of baggage?
Well, and I mean, again, this is when I first met Joceel, and when I fell for him and I realized, like, shoot, like, this is, like, let me see what's going on. I mean, I had to battle through them questions too. At the time, many years ago, I was just starting out, but I guess I didn't have the fruits of my labor yet. I was putting in the labor. I ain't had no fruit yet. But, I don't know. I just feel like that's how love works. You know what I mean? Like, I know I didn't get a chance to date a lot of people before I met Joceel when I moved here. But just from the times I've been able to date before I met him, I've dated, athletes, professional athletes. I dated a professional athlete when I was in law school. Thought I was gonna marry him. I've dated people who didn't have 4 or 5 nickels to rub together, you know what I mean? And, I had some high experiences in both places, and, not too many lows with the regular, folk that ain't got men that didn't have all the money and stuff, So I just feel like, not saying that I had lived this whole long life and had all this experience by the time I got here, but I'm just so not superficial, you know what I mean? Like, even when I met Joceel, I didn't have money like that, you know what I mean? But I was hustling, I was grinding, I was, moonlighting even as a licensed attorney, you know what I mean? I knew I was gonna be somebody. I did not know how or what vessel, God was gonna use to get me there or to deliver on his promises to me or whatever, but I knew it was gonna come. So to me, it was like, if you like this man, if you have gotten to this point, because if you put a pin and remember that when I met him, I had some stuff going on, when I met him. So it's like when I got down to the point where it's like after the whole rift and we back together, it's like, and I had to have this conversation with my father, I had to have this conversation with my mama, you know what I'm saying? Like, doing my soul searching. And I was like, I love this man. You know what I'm saying? I really love this man. It's not about what he can do for me financially. It's not about what he can do for me. It's the fact that, he has shown up every time I needed him to show up. You know what I'm saying? Even when, I wouldn't have showed up for me in a particular time, he did show up, So it's me, knowing that love is not, it's not judgmental. It's not, it always has some sort of risk with it, if you just be honest with it. But it was me willing to say, hey, this is what you really want, Kendra. if this is what you want, so go after what you want, you know, realizing that there are red flags, there are precautions. You very well might get hurt. You very well might get your heart broken. This very well might not work out. But when I was faced with the decision on if I was gonna choose Jaceel or not choose Jaceel, you know what I mean? I followed my heart. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I didn't have money then, but I knew I was gonna get a bag. You know what I'm saying? Like, I knew that even if I worked till all my fingers and fingernails fell off, I was gonna get the money. So I knew it was gonna come. So I was able to act on what really mattered, and that was my heart and my feelings. And I was able to do that because my brain, you know, the heart and the brain are two separate entities. The brain being the smarter of the two, and the brain being the conductor and the controller of the two. So I'll no matter how much, you know, I'm in love or how much, you know, love is in my heart and stuff, I'm always using my brain, you know what I mean? But I'm never going to just, you know, block out my heart, you know, and just be like, okay, brain, you got this, let's go. You know, that's not the way we were made as humans, you know what I'm saying? Like, so
You followed your heart.
Yeah, I followed my heart, and I don't regret it, you know what I mean? Because again, Jaceel and I have been through some tough stuff, you know what I mean? Tough stuff that, you know, some people like me, unlike me, or just indifferent, just would not be able to deal with. And would not deal with. You know what I mean? We've been through some stuff that's not so bad either, you know, small stuff, but we have that big thing, you know. We have, you know, a few big things we've been through, you know what I mean? But I wouldn't wanna do it with nobody else.
So let me ask you this. Before your father passed away, did he approve of your relationship with Jock?
He did. My dad and I were really close. He had his concerns. Him and my mom, you know, they always talked, and they would always talk about that. And they, you know, he became okay with it after a certain point because I've always been the type of person, I'm gonna do what I wanna do. I'm gonna do what I wanna do. I've been like that since I was a kid with whatever it is. And so they already knew that if they shunned him and was like, I'm not dealing with him, that I was gonna go deal with him either way, you know. So he was accepting of it. And him and Jaceel had time to bond. You know, Jaceel would drive me to South Carolina to cookouts on his way to somewhere and then come back and pick me up or get me back and from Atlanta and South Carolina. So I think when he passed, he was comfortable. He was comfortable. I think Jaceel was able to show him that, like, I'm gonna take care of your baby. Like, I'll drive her, even if I add an extra 4 or 5 hours to, you know, my tour bus, I'm gonna get her there, you know. So even though, you know, Jaceel is who he is, and his life was exactly, you know, how it was when my father passed, I think that, you know, he did like Jaceel. You know, they had a relationship.
Do your mother like him now?
Yeah, she do. They, like, Jaceel and I been together so long.
How long has it been, like, in totality?
Like, just out from the beginning of the story I told you, I met him August of 2014.
Okay, so over 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my mom has had the time to be like, you know, she's become like a mom to him, you know, and then especially with, you know, him losing his mom, you know, I just think, you know, she just tries to be extra, like, kind of present there for him, because I'm sure that's one of the worst experiences ever, you know, and then just losing a parent in general. So, you know, but my mom has been not necessarily the referee, but, you know, I'm my mama baby. Like, I am her youngest child. So when we've had the stuff that, you know, y'all have seen on the show or whatever it is, like, you got my mama calling, hey, what's going on? Calling both of us, calling him, hey, what is this? A group text, hey, what's going on? I don't know what's going on, but y'all need to call me or whatever. And then we like, Ma, we just working, you know, whatever. But they're extremely comfortable, you know, with each other. And so, like, I feel like she loves Jaceel a whole lot, you know, and so, but that's just, you know, that's our progression over the decade, just gelling together as one, trying to do that. And then now with all of the stuff all of the dynamics in our relationship, anything we've gone through, anything that we go through, is like, we have to consider, this is what I was explaining to him, we have to worry about other people.
Is that hard sometimes?
Yeah, because like I was explaining to him, like, I don't want my mother thinking I'm not okay. I don't want my brother thinking I'm not okay. I don't want my friends thinking I'm not okay and I'm up in their face, and my peers, the judges who I go before every day. You know what I mean? I literally have to go and literally save the world regardless of what is going on in my house. You know what I mean? And so I just tell him I want to be mindful of those people. I want to be mindful of his parents. You know what I mean? Like, you can only imagine the amount of people who call, everybody from his family, everybody from my family, just when anything happens, So I just told him, I was like, heavy is the crown that we wear, but we have to be considerate of those people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, the thing is this, and the reason why I'm so glad we're talking, and you're doing a great job at telling your story because of this. If I'm just watching the show alone, right, it does appear, and when I say this is just what the perception is that people do have of you. A lot of people, Kendra, feel like you got this rapper with a bunch of kids and a bunch of baby mamas, which is so stereotypical. And you're lost. They feel like you're being gaslit. They feel like this woman is in a marriage that is one-sided. This woman's in a marriage where, God forbid something happens, she has to take on all the debt of child support payments and everything else because you're legally his wife. A lot of people do that. A lot of people think Jock is still cheating on you. There's a lot of things that people are saying about you that I would love for you to address, because you are right. You do have to go before judges. You do have to go before your mother, your brother, and your peers, and your girlfriends who do watch the sensationalism of the show, right? Where, look, Jock is hilarious. And one thing I've learned is the fact that, he's a ham. He hams it up. But the foundation is what some people are concerned about. So how do you feel when people feel like this man is bamboozling you and he got this successful woman that is going to be in a marriage of destruction because he's going to cheat, the baby mamas are going to give you hell, these kids, child support payments is going to be your debt, and you have nothing to show for it?
Well, first of all, that's crazy. Like, all that sound crazy. Like, and that just shows you, like, the power of TV. Like it's crazy. I think it's crazy when people would say, oh, well, you're the successful attorney and realtor and real estate investor and all of this stuff, but would think that, that I would, having been able to amass all of this, just be reduced down to what you just said. Like, I'm intelligent. Like, just because that's what's perceived, like, that's what the perception is not always reality. We say perception is reality, meaning that what people see, that's what they believe. When, whatever somebody might see or whatever might get portrayed on whatever outlet, whatever it may be, that is what it is. If I believed that my husband was cheating on me, then, I mean, all of, like, the whole praise you just gave me, oh, you're this, you're that, like, I know that, you know what I mean? Like, I'm with Jaceel because I love him, and he's with me because he loves me. Like, a one-sided marriage, I don't feel like I'm in a one-sided marriage. I'm, have you seen my house? Have you seen my cars? Like, I don't pay for this stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You don't pay bills?
No, I don't. I pay my student loans.
You don't pay the mortgage?
I don't pay the mortgage. I don't pay my mortgage. You understand what I'm saying? I have investment properties. I might pay the mortgage on an investment property that I have. Well, I'm sorry, my tenant pays that mortgage. I mean, I'm liable for, that mortgage, but not, and it's not even about that. Like, it's not even about that.
But the thing is, I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
The thing is this, you're no dumb woman.
Yeah, I'm not. And it's like, it's not even about that, but I'm a kept woman. You know what I mean? I'm a worker. I'm a worker. You know what I mean?
By choice.
By choice. I do not have to work. But I didn't go spend all this money on a law degree, a mathematics degree, a real estate certification, and all this stuff just to sit at home. That's not what I want to do. I don't want to, have children. That's the thing about me. Like, I'm not, I wouldn't be sad and disappointed if it happened, but I'm I kind of don't want it to happen right now. I'm not ready for that.
Do you want kids?
I don't think so because, like I said, we've been together so long. I've had the joy, of like helping raise kids, like helping him raise his children. I have nieces, that I've played a big part in their lives too. And so I don't have the itch for it, and I've known that for a very long time. Hence, that's why I don't have kids. That's why there are no stories or, maybe one or two, but like not, it's not for me.
Do you get along with his kids?
Yes.
All of them?
Yes, all of his children. And really, I love those kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're amazing. And, the way people see them now, when I met them, they were just, nobody was big. You know what I'm saying? Nobody was big. No, everybody was young and chubby and, So it's one of those situations where it's like, I'm happy with kind of like where I fit in. And I think people don't understand that about me. They say, oh, you're settling. Oh, you just want to be married because you got the money, you got the this, you got the that. You just want the man, so you just settling for this man. You know what I'm saying? But people don't know that backstory that I gave you where I didn't have to go in this direction. I chose this. And I could have walked away from the other situation, got with him, and he could have literally fucked my life up. Like, gave me no, like you said, nothing to show for it, gave me no direction, gave me, just...
No security.
Nothing, you know what I'm saying? Or I could have ended up being another baby mama, you know what I'm saying? Or it could have took a lot of different turns, but I navigated the situation. I didn't just take the ticket, get on the boat, and go to my room. I went to the sailor's pit or whatever you call it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not just sailing blind, and I don't, I get offended when people say stuff like that. I'm like...
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to talk to you because, again, all the stuff I'm saying, you know people say that.
Yeah.
And you see it online, and I wanted you to address it because people do feel that way. And listen, I appreciate the fact that you own the woman you are, you own the skin you're in, you own the decisions you make, you own the place you are in your life. I am a firm believer in if this is what makes you happy and this man isn't abusing you mentally, physically, financially, emotionally, and you two have your own sort of relationship and understanding that the world may not get, fuck them. And that's what I'm gathering from you because based on how outspoken, let's use that word, based on how outspoken your husband is, it does oftentimes feel like you're drawn out because he is so outspoken, because he is on a hit radio morning show where his voice is not only every Monday night, or I think it's Tuesdays now, every Tuesday night, but it's also daily. And I've always felt this about you. I always felt like, I wonder who she is, And I also wonder how she's dealing with this because we do know all about the sensationalism that is attached to him. And he does a fantastic job at handling it and kind of like being in on the joke because he's a man and he's very confident in himself. Hence the hairstyles he had over the years. But when it comes to you, I always felt that because of that, you were always, nothing he did, but the world always perceived you as sort of like, is she suffering in silence?
I know, because it could be a lot, like and I share that with him a lot. I'm like, that stuff be a lot. But see, the thing with me is, and the people who truly know me, like the people who grew up with me, like people who work with me, like I'm a very outspoken person. You know, I'm a trial lawyer. Like I have trials and convince juries to say that people are not guilty, you know. So I guess I'm some sort of persuasive too. It's like, I don't know what to say. Like, what am I supposed to say to that? Like, it's like if I was not happy, if I didn't want to be with Jaceel, go call down to my investment place. I can surely leave, you know, go call down to the other places, my other, you know, investments, assets and stuff. I'm, you know, extremely capable. I'm not trapped, you know, like it is what it is. Like, it's like, I'm not, like, I am woman enough. I am brave enough. I am bold enough to, if I felt like I was in a situation where I needed some help on getting out, I can get out. I am not, by the grace of God, weak, you know, and there's so many women out here who are in situations where they can't just get up and walk out and they can't just go get another house or they don't have another house sitting somewhere that they could just go move their stuff into and stuff. And so they get trapped and they are getting physically abused and emotionally abused and financially abused and things like that. So that is not my situation. And it's like, I would never, ever in life let that be my situation. But it's like, you know, I can't live my life, nor can my husband live his life, you know, in some sort of chokehold of, oh, people are gonna put out rumors, people are gonna do this, people are gonna do that. Like, and it's like, I mean, I gotta live my life. Like, just because y'all feel like, oh, this is going on, she's suffering in silence, it's like, no, that's not what's going on. I'm living my life. Like, I'm working. I'll be retired in 10 years. Like, that's the type of work I'm doing. So, you know, while he out here, you know, while y'all might hear noise from that end, I'm moving like a duck on this end, paddling like this underneath the water, but all y'all see is just the glide. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't have to be loud in my presence, you know, but I'm here. You know, I'm here on your couch, and I'm gonna be on some other couches and other screens and stuff, you know. It's like, and you don't get that way by being a church mouse. You know what I mean? You have to have a resume, so to speak, or you have to have, you know,
confidence in a voice in your
some
own,
sort of something, you know. And but I appreciate a little bit sometimes when I'm just like, I'm like, oh, people are really thoughtful, like they really care, or they really like are concerned now. But I just don't like that people think that of me. Like, as much as I think I am, not that I'm conceited or anything like that, but I don't want people to think that. Like, it's like, I'm a strong, powerful Black woman. Like, my husband might not come in the package that the world might want him to come in, but he's mine, like, you know, and I'm with him because I want to be with him, you know what I mean? And it's like, people go through stuff. You know what I mean? Now, I don't consider cheating going through stuff. I don't consider abuse going through stuff. You know, when, you know, the situation where we were not together and he had a child, it's like, those are like, but see, those are tidbits that people don't know, or like.
Well, let's talk about that because, you know, one of the biggest things that occurred in your marriage that we did get a chance to see on the show is the fact that while you two were married, Jock had a baby on you.
No, we weren't married.
You guys weren't married, you were in a relationship.
We were not in a relationship at the time. We were on a break when this child was fathered.
So you weren't legally you weren't married at all during that time. And y'all weren't in a relationship at the time. You were on a break. Okay. And on a break, he was obviously allowed to see other women. So the perception they had a baby on you was false. So you're saying a baby came at a time where you two were not together. When you guys got back together, was the baby already born or was the woman still pregnant?
The baby, she was still pregnant.
Do you know how many months she was?
I don't remember.
Okay. Did he come to you in the reconciliation and told you what was going on? Were you devastated?
I was very mad at him, and we didn't get like instantly back together because I was like, that's wild, and I was like, it was just wild, you know, and I was like, I don't even know if I wanna, like, you know, and I just had to be honest with him.
Was it because...
In front of my pastor. We was in front of Pastor Brady.
Pastor Bryant?
Brady, our
Brad,
pastor.
I'm sorry.
Like, you know, we, you know, several times, like, we, you know, because with the premarital counseling and all this stuff, like, all of this obviously was, you know, like, I mean, it's in the past, but still, you know, I was devastated. I was just, I didn't know what I was gonna do because instantly at that point, I'm like, my life is about to, you know, take a different trajectory, whichever way. Like if I get back with him, it's going to take a trajectory. If I go and, you know, find somebody else, then it is just a different trajectory. So I just didn't know what I was gonna do, but I mean, you can't say, I don't wanna say shocked, but I was like, devastated. I'm like, you are reckless. I just couldn't get over how reckless he had to be to just like do that. Like even though like it's like, well, he could do what he want to do. It's like, no, you have respect. You have some self-control, you know, so as to not go out and create another broken household or do something that has the potential to either create another broken household with a family of color or bring back a loathsome disease to you. So.
When he got the woman impregnated, how long were y'all on the break at that time?
About 2 months, 3 months.
So
3, yeah.
Was a part of your devastation was we've only been broken up for 3 months.
Yeah.
And damn, in 3 months, you have another woman pregnant.
Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I felt. Like, I'm like, regardless of whatever type of story he gave me, like, oh, drunk this, drunk that, this and that, you know, I'm like, that ain't got nothing to do with me. And that's, you know, and that's just how I felt, you know, and that's how I feel. I'm like, that don't have nothing to do with me. None of that has anything to do with me. Like, that is not my burden to bear. And I think, like, people say in the comments all the time, oh, she should have forgave him and she shouldn't have stayed with him if she wasn't gonna forgive him. I forgave him. But what I don't allow Jaceel to do is allow me to carry a burden that's not for me. I'm not Jesus. Jesus does those things. He carries the burdens of the weak and the weary. I don't do that, you know? So, like, I've always said, and I will always have that be a rule for me. You will take accountability or this ain't gonna work. Like, I don't have nothing to do with that. Anything, a decision, especially a decision you make that negatively impacts me, you have to deal with that. That was my condition for us to continue. It was, you know, if I'm gonna get back with you, you putting it out in the open. But if this gonna be a thing, like these are my terms. These are my terms, and you can decide if you want to continue with these being my terms, that you will deal with all of that stuff. Ain't gonna be no liaison, ain't gonna be no, you can't get my type of, like, you can't get that type of devotion and dedication out of me when this is the subject matter. You can call me mean, you can call me cruel, you can write me out your will, but that's what it is. And so before, you know, we got back together, that's what it was. And that is the way that that's the way we conduct, you know, that's the way life goes, you know, like when it comes to Jaceel being a parent, like I love his kids, so it's...
Well, let me ask you this. Is it challenging though? Because I really want to know this in terms of like my curiosity. I could understand a woman entering a relationship with a man that has kids before her, right? And being able to find her place as a bonus mom for the kids, right? What I do want to know, though, how were you able to handle the fact that you're helping to raise another woman's baby that was produced while you and your now husband were broken up for 3 months?
Well, at first I was just like, which is why I just said, the hell with you, I don't want you, I don't want to be with you. Y'all all can, for real. Like, I just wasn't on it at first. Because I was like, I can't do that. Like, with a straight face, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I'm not even finna put myself through that, But just as time has passed and, talking to some people, just older people who've been through stuff, and getting advice, I got to the point where, I got to the point where I still have my boundaries. My boundaries are what they are. And, I'm a person, you respect my boundaries, or I'm gonna get you away from me, or I'm just going to disconnect,
Is there a boundary between you and the child's mother?
Yeah, I don't deal with the child's mom, you know what I'm saying?
Why not?
Because there's no need for me to, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that's the whole thing with, like, also, after the whole, he told me about the whole thing, like, the girl was carrying on, doing crazy stuff, pulling up to the studio, hitting his Rolls Royce with stuff, carrying on, this and that, all this stuff. So she really, it's like, let me tell you, I'm not dealing with none of that. I don't play that. He knows I don't play that. Everybody who know me for real, who know Ken, no, I don't play that. So like I told him, I said, that's your situation, you handle it. Because if I gotta handle it, nobody's gonna like it. So I don't have to have a conversation with her or a, relationship with her. I love her child. Her child loves me, so that's all I got for him, like, period.
What about the other mothers? Do you get along with them?
I do. Yeah, all of them, like, we're cool. Like, we're real cool. One of the sets of his twins' mom, we're cordial, but it's just strictly cordial. Just always been a little weird. She makes it a little weird, always has. But again, I don't care about stuff like that. Like, we're cordial for the kids. Some of them, some of their moms, we are close, actually, or cool, or it'll be like, girl, yeah, we gonna go to the Mexican. You wanna come to the Mexican? Or, they'll have them get me something for Mother's Day, or, we just like, and also I've been around so long that it's kind of like, they know I love their kids. And because I have a genuine love for their children, it's like, hey, what's up? Like, you good? I want to make sure they mama's good too, because it's like, I want my babies to be good. And, the best way for that to happen is that their moms are good. So,
yeah.
But I just have that relationship with them to where, it's like, I can pull up, or they can pull up, or, it's just like that,
Do you and Jock have a prenup?
We don't.
You don't?
Uh-uh.
When it comes to a will and testament, do you guys have that in place?
I have a will. I do. Jocelyn has a will. Yep, we both have wills.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Obviously, you're back in the news.
Yeah.
I want to read something to you that your husband decided to...
Excuse me.
Post that I wanted to get your thoughts on. In regards to how he felt things were being handled between the two of you, in addition to how he felt the show was coming in between you guys. So I want to get your thoughts on it in terms of what he said. And just, look, it's one of those things where I want to be able to understand when you saw that, how did you feel about it? Was it something that you saw coming? Or was it something that, he was able to explain to you? Because I want to make sure I get it, the right quote. Unless you just want to talk about it and I don't need to read it to you.
You don't need to read it to me, but the whole thing with Jaceel is,
Because he pretty much intimated that the show and the fans were affecting your marriage.
It's not. You know what I mean? And I always have to tell Jaceel this because, again, I might tell you a joke, but I'm not gonna tell you no lie. And I might tell you, the truth that I share with you might not be comfortable, but it still don't change the fact that it's the truth. And I feel like Jaceel has a problem sometimes receiving that, from me. I'm like, hey, man, I'm not accusing you of cheating. And just because these people are, I'm not saying that you cheating on me. That was not the reason. But what I shared with him was, I want to share with you what this person sent to me. So I sent it to him, you know what I mean?
What did they send to you for those who may not know?
They sent...
So a woman
sent...
in your DMs?
In my DMs, sent me a message saying that she saw my husband in an Uber with a woman. So, or she said her husband said that. So whatever, a whole bunch of whatever, but that's the gist of it. So I sent him that, I sent that to him. And this is not abnormal, if somebody sends him people don't send him stuff about me, but if they were, he would send it to me. Or, so this is something that I will do, and so I don't know if it was a build up. Now I did end up, it wasn't I didn't go off on him about the subject matter of what they sent. I wasn't oh, you down there cheating and you doing all this. It's not that. I'm not that girl. I don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? I just don't. And, he knows this. So I sent it to him, but we were into it about just something. It was not about if you're cheating or if you're not, you know what I'm saying? But I explained to him further into the conversation, hey, you got to take some accountability. Because I told him, I said, I wouldn't have to deal with this if I said, take you out the equation, I wouldn't be getting no message like this. I said, period. I said, and it's people who got husbands who are famous, who are entertainers, and they not getting messages like that. And I said, it's just a situation where you got to take accountability. Take accountability, or not, I'm not saying take accountability because I'm not saying he was doing something, but it's acknowledge the fact that this is not easy. I'm sitting down here, I'm working. You out. I mean, he's working too, but his work is a lot more fun than mine. So it's I'm here doing the not so fun work. I'm working, I got closings, I got court, I got side work and all this stuff. And it's and then this is what I get distracted with. And it's just what? And you expect me to just be oh yeah, well, whatever. And then other stuff that, he might not obviously had mentioned. It's just, I just think, when I speak up for myself and I'm hey, look, I don't care about none of that. I don't want to be bothered with this stuff. You know what I mean? Whatever. I just feel sometimes Jaceel feel helpless and he just he feel cornered and all this stuff. So it's oh, let me, if I'm winning an argument with you, if I'm beating him in an argument, it's oh, let me one up you. I have a platform. And I told him, I was that's abuse. I was that is abuse. I said, that is, for you to, just, I was you're not gonna gaslight. I was you're gonna use your platform, your social media, because you're a celebrity, you got 1 million some followers, as a weapon, using the radio platform, a syndicated radio morning show, to weaponize your position in a situation where it's given the history and what we've been through in recent history, I expect, everything in the world plus more and a few more stars on top. You know what I'm saying? Just for good measure, for what I've been through and the stuff that I've had to deal with, undeservingly. Yeah, I have my flaws and I've done my stuff in the past, You know what I mean? But everybody deserves grace, and once you get the grace, you stay on the straight and narrow. So, you know, I just feel like, you know, don't run and try to, little girl me because you got a platform and you Young Jock. And I don't like that. So what I did was I went right on to work. I have a client who is undocumented, and she, was at risk of going to jail and getting deported for a freaking no license charge. So I spent, 4 or 5 hours that next morning in DeKalb County begging, pleading, and tap dancing on DA tables, trying to make sure this young lady could go back out and go home and not get taken into ICE custody. So it's like I didn't even have time to go to the internet. Understand what I'm saying? I had to do that. So I went into one of my favorite little restaurants and ate my little $11.99 lunch and talked about what I did for my client and talked about getting in final underwriting on the investment property I'm closing on this week. Like, I'm not acknowledging that. I don't run to the public about my problems. I don't do that. The public runs to me about theirs. I don't run to them about what I have going on. And I told Jaceel, he's 8 years my senior. So it's like, you're almost a decade older than me. So I expect more from you just on that front. But I expect more from you because I'm your wife. I'm your wife. And it's like, now, also, I used to have a nasty habit when we got into it, or just argue, because we don't argue a lot, you know what I mean? But just, divorce, or
You would
whatever.
say the divorce word.
Not all the time. It's probably happened one time. Maybe 2 times.
Maybe
in 5.
5.
No, maybe 2 times in 4 years.
But you admit that sometimes you would weaponize the D word.
I only weaponized it like 1 time or 2 times.
Okay.
And it's wrong. It's wrong when I do that. You know what I'm saying?
And obviously he felt that and wanted to
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's what he told me. Like, after talking, it's like, yeah, you always saying this and saying that. But like I told him, what pissed him off is because he was, going off and trying to, gaslight me. And I'm just like, boy, I defend people against people with these personality traits on a daily basis. That's actually my claim to fame out of the U of L Family Law Clinic. It really is. So, I'm like, so that those things don't work on me. And so it's like, even with you doing that, you see what I did. You see what I did. And I got another contract in, another government contract. It's just like, you doing all this and you, I was like, and I hate to get on TV and be like, you can't break me or whatever it was people were saying that I said, but it's just like, no, I'm letting you know, like, I shouldn't have to tell you that, you know what I'm saying? And just because I'm telling you, hey, you a married man, period, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that he was doing something against.
But was it more so, because even last year when he was at the party and the parking lot situation happened with the woman.
See what I'm saying?
Is it, so for you, obviously, I get it. You are a professional woman. By proxy, you're involved in the entertainment business because your husband's on a hit show.
Yeah.
And you have to make appearances on it.
Right.
But in your real life, you're at work constantly and doing investments. So because your husband's lifestyle includes hosting events, going to nightclubs to perform and all that stuff, that he puts himself, not purposefully, but puts himself in situations where people can be in your DMs, and at some point, any human being, it can take a toll on you to the point where, okay, the block is so hot that, okay, what's going on? I'm not accusing you of something, but I'm also not going to ignore this either. And what you did, which I would have done, you presented it to him because you can only take so much.
And if I came to you and said, Carlos, such and such said that was telling me that you said blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm just telling you, and she said, you said blah, 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 blah. After a while, you're gonna be like, how can you keep repeating this verbatim? Show me what you're talking about, right? You know what I mean? And so you gonna want somebody to present the best evidence of what they talking about. You know what I mean? Like, show me what you talking about. So that's the only reason I sent it to him, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, that's giving somebody a fair shake. I don't know if that's the lawyer in me. I do that even when it's not. If it ain't even him that I'm trying to show something to or prove something to, it's like, that's just what you do. So like I told him, I was like, I'm not even trying to antagonize you, but it's just like acknowledge the fact that this is not easy. You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes, like I said to him, I think sometimes because you do give me a good life, you know, and I don't for real have to worry about too much. I was like, I don't want you to feel like it's like, yeah, I can, you know, yeah, I can stay out extra late, or I can, these are just examples, I can stay out extra late, or I can do what I want to do. I'm king, you know, I'm run all this, you know. And because traditionally, you know, the dynamic between men and women, it has, I'm not saying every man who's been a provider historically has been that way, but, you know, when somebody is financially dependent upon somebody, or if just one partner has more than the other, you know, it could create a situation like that. But I never want, and I don't ever anticipate that it would be like that. And Jaceel is very, he never wants to be perceived like that. That's why his feelings get hurt so bad, because, like, he's not a bad guy. Jaceel's a good guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a good man, you know what I mean? And I can say that very, you know, very boldly, you know, very bravely. But I just feel like, understand where I'm coming from, you know.
Yeah.
I signed up to do this with you for the rest of forever. It's like, give me that respect. I don't hound you. I let you do whatever. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I be out here hustling, grinding myself, so I'm not a nag. Like, I'm not a nag, you know, I'm super cool, you know, and he'll tell people that, like, he like, that's my best friend. You know, I just want to, you know, we be hanging out, this and that. I'm like, cause I be chilling, you know what I mean? And I dress up and try to look cute for you and all that stuff. But it's like, you're not gonna sit here and just act like it's a walk in the park. It's not always a walk in the park. And I just want to be heard when it comes to that, like, acknowledge that. And he does, and he has, and, you know, since then, you know, he's
been better?
Yeah, he
Improving.
just he feel like, I'm like, and I told him, I was like, you didn't even, I was like, your objective for the whole reason you did that didn't work. I was like, all you did was make them people down there, get all them customers down there at that place I posted. And everybody down there asking for my special. That's all you did.
Well, that works too.
Sure.
Well, let me ask you this, because this is like the million-dollar question that the audience wants to know. Do you believe in your heart of hearts, in your marriage, that Jock has been faithful to you?
Yes, I do. I 1000% believe that he's been faithful to me in the marriage. Period.
And what is it, as we end this, what is it that you want to say to the world who have you misunderstood in terms of, like, who you are as a woman, a wife, a bonus mom, a professional, all those things?
I am very multifaceted, and I wear a lot of hats, you know. Sometimes I could do a better job at what I do under each hat, but I'm just a person, you know, and I just want people to understand that I know that you can see something and want it to be your way, or have someone's life be the way you visualize it, but you just have to trust that, you know, I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, throw away all of that stigma and just get to know people. Now, granted, everybody in the world can't just pull up on me and get to know me, but just know, like, I am true and I'm honest about what I say and what I portray. You know, I try to be as true to that as possible, because when I see young Black girls growing up, I want them to say, hey, you know what? I don't look regular. I don't act regular. I'm not necessarily normal, but can I still do this? Yes, I can. You know, I like long nails. Can I still be a lawyer? Yes, you can, young lady. You got a bust down? Yes, you can. You like rap music? You like whatever? Yes, you can. You can do whatever it is you want to do. You know what I mean? And I just want to always be able to encourage people like that. Like, don't take my kindness and my good heart for weakness, because I'm kind and I'm really nice. But if I have to, you know, get, you know, strict or get with somebody, I can do that. You know, I don't want to be that person, but it's like, don't take my kindness for weakness, and, you know, don't judge a book by its cover. You know, I feel like the whole basis of my life since I met my husband is, you're a lawyer and you're married to a rapper and he has a lot of kids. It's like, Jaceel is so much more than that. I am so much more than that. Like, it's like, put respect on my name, put respect on my legacy. And that's just seriously, and you can go down to all the Secretary of States, any state I do business in, anybody I do business with. But and everything I say will check out to the penny. I pay my taxes. You see what I'm saying? So I'm real. What you see with me is what you get. And it's like, if you happy for my marriage, root for my marriage. If you're not happy with it, just keep on going. Like, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. And if you say it and I don't like it, be prepared for what I'm gonna say back. And I think that's just in a nutshell, you know?
I like that. Listen, I really do thank you for doing this interview. I feel
Thank you, Carlos.
I feel like we all have a better understanding of you, and I encourage you to continue to just focus on what's in front of you and not the background noise that surrounds you because of the sort of like echo chamber that you're in because of reality television.
Yes.
So listen, you seem to have a good head on your shoulders. You know what's up.
Thank you.
And you have no problem checking him. So we love that.
We
love that. I love you more. No, you did such a good job explaining yourself.
Back.
Well, next time you come back, I want your husband to come with y'all.
Okay.
And I'll be your counselor.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, that would be so good. Yes.